crime drama puts you off, but what if it's a good one, right? What if it's like the trend that you want to tear your hair out, but actually there's something there, but you just don't have the energy to.
I mean, it's tough because I think if something is unique and great, it tends to pop. But this is my problem with like algorithms too, honestly, is like this is just my complaining session now. But these kind of like algorithmic models, algorithm is just a fancy word for they look at precedent and correlations with success and then repeat it, which is another word for like kind of cliched, right? But formulaic. It's a formula, and so it makes formulaic things, is what an algorithm does. And maybe formulaic things are successful. We've had a lot of superhero movies. We've had a lot of, so there's a place for that. There's a place for that. But I would also say that the most successful shows are the things that an algorithm by definition would not find. They're these black swan outlier things that come in and give the audience a taste for something they never knew they wanted. And so I think, the big breakout hits are always like that, right? And so it's of course hard to get those on the air because you need somebody who's willing to take a chance and go with their gut. And you need, when writing it, to go with your own gut. So it's rare, but it happens. And to me, those tend to be the most exciting shows out there. So there's honestly, there's a place for both. Craft goes a long way. Like you can have a million procedurals, but even if they are somewhat formulaic, if they are well crafted or the characters are written so well that you can't help but love them, that's engaging TV. So yeah, they both work.
I think we have time for just one more question somewhere in the middle. Just before that, I just want to let you know we have an algorithm here. It's called Mirzapur. It's a gangster drama. Came out 6 years ago. Everyone's still trying to make it. It's very annoying. Last question to you. No pressure.
Hi, Lisa. In recent years, we have seen a trend where there are 2 or more genres in a film, which I think it helps to give it a wider audience or more plot bits to keep the audience engaged. So my question is it a necessity today to package your story in a genre to make it more sellable?
I don't think it has to be packaged in a genre. I mean, genre is it's pretty niche, and genre doesn't necessarily always command critical respect, right? Like there's sci-fi and fantasy aren't typically the world of accolades, right? There's a kind of like general, more realistic drama that goes towards, and comedy. Look, it's weird. I like to play with genre. Sometimes people know I'm doing it and sometimes they don't. Like genre is very funny to me, right? Because it's a lane that you inherit from the storytellers that have come before you. And maybe like the 3-act structure, there's something a priori about it, something that makes sense and is sort of finding something in nature that just seems to be. But also maybe it's like a weird patriarchal like relic of a way of separating the world, like can there be a real love story that's also an action film, can there be sci-fi that is serious and contemplative or humorous, like can there, I think these divisions, and also as a woman, right? When I asked, people assume you have a genre, right? Like genre is weirdly tied up with identity politics in ways that people don't talk about. And it's also an artifice that was inherited from history, right? And from a certain rarefied group of published and respected authors, right? So genre being able to package things in genre helps marketing and it helps sell a thing, right? Being able to know squarely where it sits and how they advertise it. But at the same time, I somewhat lament that. You know, I do think that there's something else out there, but to strive for it is tricky, and it's harder to get made, and it also might not. People sometimes, right now, audiences seem to really want to know what they're getting. Maybe it's because the world is so uncertain and terrifying that they just want to feel, you know, give me this time of escape, like, you know, tickle my funny bone or make me cry or to, have superheroes solve the problems of the world, right? Like, just do it and give me the feeling that I need at the end. You know, that might be what we need right now. Like, sometimes I need that. You know, there's no judgment for me on any of this. But whereas blending genres, when you don't have, it's like listening to a new kind of music. You know how if you play a song enough times, people tend to start liking that song, regardless of whether you liked the song initially or not. It's like a trick of, you know, radio play and, you know, how pop stars are made, right? And it's the same thing with, you know, we're used to those rhythms of, you know, like those flavors, that palette of genre. But there's a part of me that's like, tear it all down, blow it all up, it's not real. And so I think there's some fun to be had there.
We are overrunning, but I'd like to take one more question. So unless somebody shouts at me, I will take a one. If it's a quick one, yeah, let's just take that one.
Sorry. Hi, Lisa. Thank you so much for your time and like your wisdom. My question to you is with context to the WGA strike. I think it's the first time a lot of us got to even see words like residuals, which we have no idea like what that is.
Not a thing, yeah.
So, you know, and we're really happy for you guys that y'all were able to fight for those rights and get them. What happens here for writers, a lot of the people will be able to relate, is that when we do develop our pilots or our Bibles, and we spend a lot of time and effort in putting it together, and then we go ahead to try and sell it. And there's often not much guarantee that we would be involved in any aspect of its future, in any aspect of like other seasons. So what would you tell us should be non-negotiable for us as writers to have like those rights for our IP that we're selling?
That's a very good question. I think part of this is realpolitik, right? Like, you're not in a system that is geared towards helping you out. And as I know, you know, the writer strikes sound good, and they are good, but there is that happens in the U.S. too, truly. So I think, first of all, one of the things you can do is, and I did this with my feature, you know, I deliberately just dropped it everywhere on the same day in the hopes of getting a competitive situation, which I did. And then because I had a bidding war for the script from several parties, I was able to negotiate my continued involvement in said script, right? And that's one way to do it, right? And that helps also for if you're a woman, right? Women tend to get paid less than men. I know that's happened to me. And so that's why I like doing an open market competitive bidding thing. I'm like, let the work speak for itself then. So that is one way to do it. The other thing I would say is, and this is, I guess, more to the production companies then, right? I think we're in this business for a reason. We're in it to make stories that endure, delight, and move. We're not making toothbrushes, right? And for that, you want the best storytellers you can get. Production companies have competition just like writers do, right? If I wanted the best storytellers in India, it sounds like what I would do is try to build a brand about supporting those voices and nurturing them in a hope to attract the best and brightest and get the best shows. And we can all become filthy rich together, you know? I think there is a space in the market for changing the way that people approach it. Is that if everybody is doing one thing and valuing one thing, then I think a interesting production house should try a different tact, right? Or maybe a fledgling production house should try a different tact. And so that's me not really talking to you, but talking about the industry in general. I think that would be an interesting way to do it, because I do think that story sells. I think that underlying which movies do well and which don't, you know, writers are very unsung heroes. I think that writing is the thing. I think it all rests on the script, you know, and I say this as somebody who loves directing and loves producing. I think it's all about the writing. I think it's so fundamentally important and underappreciated and sometimes undervalued. And so for me, it's just a smart business move to value writers in order to attract the best ones.
Can I please ask a tiny question?
Sorry, I'm being given very aggressive looks, so we'll have to call it there. But thank you, everyone. Lisa, thank you for the worlds. Thank you for the wisdom. Thank you for the stories.
Thank you.